Well, the fall is here, and that means we are back to basketball and hockey season here in Michigan as we continue on with football and college football across the state. And our beloved Red Wings coming back with a lot of excitement behind the team this year, a young team, but a lot of promise too. And joining us now to talk about the Red Wings' upcoming season is MLive beat writer Ansar Khan. Ansar, thanks for being with us again.
Glad to be with you.
Glad to have you on. So the Red Wings wrapped up the preseason on Saturday night. They had a 5-1 loss to the Toronto Maple Leafs, finishing the preseason with a 3-5 overall record. That being said, a lot of good things that we've seen over the offseason from this team, some interesting moves to bring in some more veteran players, bolster that young team, and really look toward the future under a new head coach in Derek Lalonde. What have you seen this preseason that's been impressive for the Red Wings, but some things maybe also to be concerned about for this upcoming season for this young squad?
Well, the preseason itself, it's difficult to really put too much into it because you're dealing mostly with kind of skeleton lineups. A lot of young players, prospects who eventually were sent down, getting a look. But just overall, coming into the training camp and preseason, after all the moves they made in the off season, this is a much deeper team than last year. They addressed all their positions of need, scoring, defense, upgraded in goaltending. They upgraded or they addressed all the just the areas that they needed to address, and the fact that they're a deeper team, they can withstand injuries more than they could last year, and really should be improved in all areas.
And speak to the addition of Ben Sherratt and Ali Mata on the defensive side, too, because adding those two defensemen, they're veteran defensemen, to a team that really struggled to prevent teams from getting to the goaltender last season and putting shots on goal. How are those additions going to help this team, especially with that added depth this year, to to improve on the defensive side of the puck?
Yeah, a couple of veterans, a lot of experience, kind of defensive-minded guys, both with good size. Sherratt is going to be paired with Moritz Seider on the top pairing. He'll log a lot of minutes. Amada on the second pairing with Roenick. So, two of your top four on defense there. That's a pretty significant upgrade uh, for a team that ranked 31st in the league in goals against last year. Of course, it wasn't all on the defense, but certainly the forwards and the goaltending had something to do with their struggles keeping the puck out of the net. But the defense should be much improved. Now, rookie Simon Edvinsson, a lot of people expected or hoped that he would make the team, but it was clear in the preseason that he's only 19. He's got some work to do, and so he'll start in Grand Rapids and possibly eventually work his way up at some point this season. But as far as the additions with the two veterans that you mentioned there, it should be a better defense for sure.
Yeah, also adding veterans at the center position, goaltender, forwards as well on this team. Plenty of additions for Steve Yzerman, Derek Lalonde, and this Red Wings team from the front office downward all throughout the offseason. And let's go into that goaltender situation because Alexei Nedeljkovic is still here. He had a decent season last year for the Detroit Red Wings. They're also bringing in Billy Husso from free agency. And then they have one of the top goaltending prospects and a former first round pick in Sebastian Casa as well, who got some time in the preseason and is going to be with the Grand Rapids Griffins to start the regular season. What do you believe the timetable could be on that former first round pick on Casa and his potential impact on the Red Wings this season?
Yeah, no, for goalies, it takes longer than skaters to develop. So he's probably several years away from reaching the NHL. If you'll recall, Jimmy Howard spent 4 years in Grand Rapids. It kind of goes to show you, unless you're a real elite goaltending prospect, like somebody like Shesterkin from the Rangers or Vasilevsky from Tampa Bay, it's going to take some time. So I would suspect it would take at least 3 years development time in the minors for Kosa. Now he's not necessarily going to start in Grand Rapids. They've got Juicy Okunmuwara, the Olympics MVP from Finland that they signed in the offseason. And they also got Victor Bratstrom, who had a pretty decent preseason, and he played 30 some games for Grand Rapids last season. So my guess is that after Grand Rapids goes through its little training camp here, that Kosa might be sent down to Toledo, where he would get much more playing time. And that's one of the things that they stressed is a young guy like that needs a lot of playing time. He needs to net. You can't just play one game a week and hope to develop that way. So I get the feeling that he's going to start in Toledo.
You can find more information on the Red Wings and read articles from Ansar all throughout the preseason that have already passed, as well as the regular season that begins this Friday at 7 o'clock against the Montreal Canadiens on Bally Sports at 7 o'clock by visiting mlive.com/Red Wings for more information. Again, their season begins this week, Friday at Little Caesars Arena, 7 p.m. Puck drop at LCA against the Montreal Canadiens. And then, of course, another key part of the preseason is narrowing down that roster, keeping guys that you think are going to help support the progress of this team, but also be key players in all the different lines for the Red Wings all throughout the season. Any surprising cuts from Coach Lalonde and this Red Wings squad from this preseason, Ansar?
Yeah, well, not a cut, but the surprise that Elmer Soderblom has made the season opening roster. He's a promising. He has been for the last year or two a very promising prospect. 6'8". You just don't see guys that big in the NHL. Very few. Terrific hands, good skills. He impressed in the prospects tournament and then in training camp, and then he had a good preseason. But still, you figured, well, maybe at that age, he's 21. Could use some time developing in Grand Rapids, but he pretty much forced his way onto the roster with his play, and he'll certainly be intriguing to watch, especially early in the season. He'll be on the power play, I'm sure. Otherwise, they wouldn't have kept him up here. 6'8" guy in front of the net should be interesting.
We're joined by Ansar Khan from MLive on today's edition of the Megacast. He is one of the beat writers there in the sports department covering the Detroit Red Wings. More information to find his articles on mlive.com/Red Wings. Of course, the Red Wings coming into their first season under new head coach Derek Lalonde, and whenever there's a coaching change in any of our professional sports, but really especially in hockey, that can have quite the big impact on this team. Coming off of the era of Jeff Blashill at the helm and now into Derek Lalonde, how are the players in the locker room taking to this new coaching staff and this new regime in Detroit?
Good, by all accounts. One thing Lalonde has been stressing here throughout camp and the preseason is playing with pace. He thinks that this is a fast team and that they can play a fast game. And that's kind of been evident too in some of the practices. Yesterday was one of the more intense, faster practices that I've seen in quite some time. And also, I think all coaches are sticklers for defense and shutting opponents down, but he's certainly made an emphasis of it in pretty much every post-game press conference that he talks about. He really harps on, he calls it poaching for offense and something that they can't do. And each individual young player that he talks about, he stresses how much it's great that they're, if they can score goals, but it's more important that they play on the right side of the puck and defend well. So that's going, and they, like I said, they ranked 31st in the league last year in goals against. They need really a significant improvement in that to make any kind of advance in the standings.
Yeah, certainly. If you can't protect your own goal, you're going to have a lot of problems winning games in the National Hockey League. Ansar, thank you so much for joining us.
Glad to be with you.